My guest is Tu Lei, an international award-winning guitarist. We spoke about her musical upbringing in Vietnam, her travels all over the world, and our shared interests in fitness and food. I want to give a special thanks to the South Bay Guitar Society for connecting us. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Tu, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we're here because the South Bay Guitar Society in California originally had you come scheduled to play for the concert series, but of course because of COVID you can't be here. So we thought about the next best thing, which was for me to have a conversation with you and to get to know a little bit more about you. So I also came from Asia. I came from Taiwan, and one of the things that I thought about asking you about was learning guitar in Asia, and especially, back in the 90s where music was very hard to come by, right? CDs were very hard to find. Music was hard to find. Professional concerts were really hard to find as well. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I started to learn when I was just 4 years old, which is the 80s. So can you imagine Vietnam in the 80s? We didn't even have CD. Or the only things I could listen when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old was some cassette tape from my father that he got from some friends. And that's the only thing. And the few books that he also had from his friends or from his teacher. And it's really difficult. All I know is just book from my father or from my teachers. And if I went to see live concerts, it's just my father, my teachers, and their colleagues. So we didn't even think or dream about watching international artists come to Hanoi to perform. Yeah, so it's really limited. But at that time, you accept the way how it is, and that is everything you had.
Yeah. For me, it was very similar. I remember my first instrument was the violin. So it was a cassette tape that I rewound all the time, and I would listen to it. It was like a Suzuki Book 3 or 4 or something like that. And I just enjoyed listening to that music so much. So I remember the cassette tapes. Do you think with this generation that there's just so much information, it's so easy to get this information so that people actually just end up not doing it?
There's an advantage, of course, of having everything now. You can go online, you can download everything or buy everything and watch all the famous artists performing. But I feel like people also get a bit, they take it for granted. They get a bit more lazy. Like at my time, as I told you, we didn't even have photocopy machine. So after every classes, I had to stay back in the class to write handwriting the pieces from my teacher's book because he can't give to students in everyone book to bring home. So sometimes I have to stay like 2 3 hours just to sit there and rewrite everything. And of course, at that time, if you're learning a new piece, it's a new piece. It's a completely new piece. If you haven't heard it from your friends or your teachers, means you never heard it before, and you just start like completely new, and you don't even know if you play it right or not. But then I think the advantage is yours. Once you get it right, you put your personal idea and musicality is yours. Nowadays, we have everything on YouTube. When you learn a new piece, I'm sure if you never listen to it, I'm sure 100% people would get on YouTube just to check out how it sounds like, right? So, which is very convenient and make it so much easier to learn new things. But then I guess we get also more lazy, and some people even don't have a nice handwriting of music. And I believe when you learn something, of course there are so many methods of learning, like practicing without the guitar or reading the score. But I went through that if you rewrite the score, it's even go deeper, and you really pay attention at every small detail, which now people are missing out a lot.
Yeah, I think I agree with that because writing Chinese, that's how we used to write it. Sometimes our homework in Chinese was to copy the chapter 2 times, 3 times. And there's something physical about writing the characters down, copying, and even though people think maybe it's too rote or too, I don't know, brainless, but I think there's something deep once you get into it. It is almost like a practice because you have to get into that Zen kind of a mode, right?
Yeah, because when you write, you pay attention at detail.
Mhm.
When you read, you can just go through, but when you write, even if you don't want it or don't mean it, the detail is still go in your head. Yeah, that's how I learned. Like, for example, I learned English when I was 5 or 6 years old. I remember the teacher used to give us homework like write down new words, each word 10 times. So you just write. You want to learn or not, you want to go in your head or not, it's automatically go in.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I
that's
still believe in the old style studying, and even nowadays with my small students, some beginners, I still make them write the music.
I actually think there's value to that, and there's already some studies out there that show that writing is more effective for learning than just typing things onto the computer, like in a classroom setting. So there's some interesting studies that have been shown that. So when in our generation, when we share this method, like let's say I want to get my students to copy the music or something like that, I'll tell the parents, this is what I would like your child to do, blah blah blah. The parents are always on board because they're saying, "Oh, this is how we learned it back in India or in China or in Taiwan." And then the kids are the ones who are thinking, "Why do I have to do this? Can I just, copy, zoop, zoop?" Now, did you come from a musical family?
My father was actually a professional painter, but he also was a professional guitarist. So he used to perform like with my teachers and join the guitar club, which performed regularly in Hanoi at that time. So yeah, I might say, my father, my uncle, they were both guitarists, and that's how I grew up, listening to him, practicing or watching his concert. My mother was not a musician though, but she's a very good audience, and she was actually very strict with my practice because she doesn't know too much about music, so she just sit there and count mistake, and it was sometimes like kind of annoying. Like she doesn't know the technique, and always, oh, you make mistake, you're gonna play it again.
But ultimately, that worked, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you need someone who, not too much just musical thing. You have to be strict, and I still believe in discipline when it's come to study.
Hmm. Yeah. And can you paint us a picture of that scene? You're saying your dad and your teachers played concerts together, right? In
Yes,
Hanoi. Yeah, can you
yes,
paint us a picture of that? Because I've never been to Vietnam. A lot of people have never been there, much less the 80s.
yeah. In Vietnam in the 80s, actually the guitar was a very big thing. There was many concert. Even my teacher and my father got to play in some very famous theater in the city, and they form a club. It's called a guitar club that they do regularly concerts every month. And normally it's like a joint concert, like everybody playing in one concert. So in one concert, you can find 6, 7 artists playing at the same time, and each of them play a few pieces. And at the time, people, the Hanoi people really love classical guitar music. And also, I guess it's the common thing, in the past, we didn't have, how to say, bar and pub and nightclub and discotheque. Uh, Also, not too much with cinema. So it become like a big thing for people to go to see a classical guitar concert. So I must say that how to say, the whole situation about guitar in Hanoi was very strong in the 80s. But then up to the 90s is going a little bit down, where my teacher already retired, my father was getting older, and he didn't really practice too much anymore because he was always more a painter. And of course, there's younger generation coming up, and I was studying in the conservatory. So all that we did was like a concert in the conservatory and still doing the guitar club, but it's not so regular anymore. So there was a period that is going a little bit down.
Is the guitar club still around?
Uh, I've left the country 10 years and I come back actually almost every year, and I still very active performing in Vietnam, but the club is not there anymore. Now they are more into like teaching. They're still in the same place, I guess, but they are more like opening school and teaching, and they have different form of performing. So they are more like individual artists who organize event and concert. So every time I come back, I still perform regularly, just to keep in touch with the audience in my beloved country.
So how similar is a guitar club to, something like a guitar society in the US or somewhere else in Europe that you've seen?
Normally, people have the regular schedule for concerts, and then, of course, when it's like a regular thing, people get more excited. You play this one, and then you're excited for the next month's upcoming concert. I think it's keep the spirit growing strong. And then also, for example, if my teacher have some new pieces or new book from his friend sending from overseas, or some Dio pieces to practice together, they get very exciting. And it's small, but at that time for us, it's very big. We didn't have the luxury like nowadays that you can find anything you want. So, I've heard, and I remember what I've heard at that time was very common pieces, like Asturias, Recuerdos de la Alhambra, and everybody playing it all over again. But it is still very beautiful. And, at the end, the spirit that counts. And of course, my teacher and some other older generation teachers in Vietnam, they did a lot of arrangement of Vietnamese music for guitar, which make it really special and also attract the audience. Because among the audience, they might be, some of them know about classical guitar, some of them don't know much. So to get them to listen to a very familiar tune is important to bring classical guitar closer to the audience.
That's what my grandpa always complained about. He said that I should play something that he could recognize,
Yeah,
rather than this Bach or whatever, this stuff that I was playing.
yeah, but it's true, because eventually at the end, you don't choose audience, right? When you go to a concert, you cannot expect that your audience know about classical guitar. So yeah, happened to me too. Sometimes I come back to the countryside, with relatives, and they all say that, oh, I know that you play guitar, so can you play this and this? And they name some Vietnamese song. And I said, no, I haven't learned this. I only learned, Villa Lobos or Asturias. Yeah, you're very good. Your fingers are so fast, but I don't understand this. So I realized that, we have to be also flexible and to bring music closer to people. I think this is the important things to do, to play Vietnamese music, arrange for guitar that everybody can understand and enjoy.
Yeah, I think that's important. The funny thing was, I resisted doing Taiwanese music for the longest time. And then I think around 2010 or something, I went to the Philippines for the first time, and the locals requested that I play some Filipino songs. And when I thought about it, well, first when I heard the music, I thought, this sounds like Lauro, it sounds like Latin American Venezuelan music. And of course it makes sense because Spain was there for 320 something years,
Yeah.
right? And then they integrated the guitar into their culture. And so I thought, gosh, this is so beautiful. And so the other times that I went, I also played a lot of the local music. The North has their own music, the South has their own music. And then that's when I thought, well, why am I playing this other people's music? I should be playing my own music. So that's when I started, okay, I need to do some Taiwanese transcriptions. And then what happened was, one time I was learning a very popular Taiwanese song. My mom heard me play it, and then she started singing. And then it's in the Taiwanese dialect, which I can converse in it lightly, but I didn't understand the singing, the lyrics. So she started explaining it to me, and that left one of the deepest impressions, as an adult with my mom. So actually, it's kind of nice how that came together. So
Yeah. And do you still now playing like music from your country a lot?
yeah,
Oh, that is nice.
yeah.
I think
The
I think
program that
it's
I'm working on.
important.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I think that it's important to bring your culture, right, to the world.
Yeah.
And it's very unique because not everybody playing that music.
Yes, I think that's right. But also, I think it's good music too. It's a beautiful melody. It's a nice arrangement. I didn't do the arrangement. It was done by an American guitarist named Nathan Kolosko, so who's married to a Taiwanese girl, I think. So that's how that came about. And then our paths crossed, and then I got the music. So I thank him for that. But I'm also thinking about doing some of my own arrangements, and also sort of popular songs from my dad's era. Kind of, it's nice. It comes full circle, you know.
Mm.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about how you started in Vietnam and then all the places that you've been? You mentioned India last time we spoke, and then Saudi Arabia, I think, and now you're in Bahrain. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually, I was born and grew up and lived most of my life in Vietnam. All my study too, until 2009. I left to India, and it's because of the job of my husband. So he worked for a hotel, and he has to move around according to his job. So every year is like every country is like 3 or 4 or 5 years. So 2009 was we moved to India. We stayed there for 5 years, and then 2 years in Saudi Arabia, and now we are on the fifth year in Bahrain. Yeah, we live like gypsy, just carry on my guitars. And actually, many times we were talking, we actually have no home. My dream is I want to set up like a home studio, and I want to learn about recording and can do things myself like all the guys are doing. I'm so impressed. But being a girl, and I actually, every time I think about it, I said, I don't know how long more I stay in this house. It is worth to invest to make a studio and all. And since then, yeah, it's 10 years. I always have a dream of recording myself. Not nowadays, many guys do that easily. But for me, it's still something very luxury. And first, I have to learn. And second, I need a stable place to be able to settle everything. Just a sec. Oh.
What was the biggest challenge for as a guitarist, as a musician, when you're constantly moving? Because no home, there's an interesting problem, right?
Yes, I wouldn't say it's a problem. It has, of course, advantage and disadvantage. No home is not the point. The point is no home and having children is a bit more problem. What I love about this life is I got to see so many culture. Like the place that if you were just sitting, like for example in Vietnam, if I would say I want to go to a holiday to somewhere, you would never name of Bahrain, of India, of Saudi Arabia. But somehow I feel like I've been sent here for a purpose. I didn't like it at the beginning, heard about the name, but then since I move in, I live, I get to know culture, I feel attached to it, and I try to make the best out of it. And what I love the most in these countries is the culture that I try to be blending with the local people, local life, getting to know the musicians, and watching them playing their traditional instruments. So all of this, I think, is like the biggest profit that I could get out of this life, and also for my children. I think it's amazing, since they were born until now, they went through like 4 different countries and study in international school and getting to know so many friends from different places. That's the richness in life that we get. But then, of course, the moving every few years, the moment you get settled down, you feel happy, and then it's time to move again. So the moving part was never easy, I can say. But for my musician life, I don't think it affects too much because, of course, I gave up my teaching in Vietnam because I know that with this life, I can't be committed in one school or one university. And especially in this country, they don't have a conservatory or music academy. So I just, open my own center or studio at home to teach privately. And in India, I taught in an academy, but Saudi and here, there is no such thing about classical guitar.
Have you ever collaborated with any of their traditional instruments, Middle Eastern instruments or Indian instruments?
I did a lot in the past 10 years, a lot. And I must say that this is the part that I enjoy the most in my, gypsy life. So in India, I had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different bands. We didn't play regularly, but every now and then, with sitar player, with tabla, with singers who sing like a traditional Indian music, or sometimes with the big band. Of course, not classical guitar style. It's completely different style of music. And here in Middle East, I also did some time with musicians locally here, and it's really interesting, just to learn their music and to play with them and to discover the different side of classical guitars. And in fact, if you're willing to learn and just do something different, you can do a lot in classical guitar. Who say classical guitar only to play Tarega and Villa Lobos, right? And I feel like, sometimes you have to just to break the rule and do something different. Some people might not like it. I know some people might say, "Oh, you're a classical guitarist, you shouldn't play." But then, if you do that, your repertoire or the classical guitar repertoire will be very limited.
Yep.
And the fact is, you can do so much more with it. And at the end, eventually, music is music. If I live in this part of the world, I want to maximize the ability of my guitar, right? And that I might not have the same opportunity when I live in Italy or in France. So I take all of this as a very valuable experience to my career.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I'm very grateful because the guitar allowed me to travel. And then when I was a kid, I watched Discovery Channel on the TV, and it was an episode about Italy, and I remember it was Venice, and it was talking about how the Venice would be flooding in whatever sometime in the future, and I thought, well, I guess I'll never see Venice. I'll never go to Italy. But somehow a few years later, after college, I ended up in Italy. You know, I was studying with Oscar Gilia, it just opened up my path. I went to Mexico. I never thought in my life I would be in Mexico. I never thought in my life I would be in the Philippines. I never thought in my life I'd be traveling to Japan by myself, playing. I'm very grateful for the guitar for that. And I think the
You
guitar is
also
kind of
travel
like a
a lot.
gypsy. Sorry?
You mean you travel not just for one, two performance, you travel like to study and to stay for a long time.
Italy was to study, and the rest of the places were to perform. And so the nice thing was the guitar I always thought was like a gypsy instrument because it's an instrument that is it's polyphonic, and you can take it with you, right? Most of the other polyphonic instruments are big, right? Piano, marimba, harp. You can't really take those with you very comfortably.
Yeah,
So,
and you can, even on the street, you just open the case and play. I did actually a few times just play for fun on the street in Italy. I need to practice anyway. Why should I sit in my room? And I just go out in the promenade, the center of a very small city in the north. But it's really nice and fun, and yeah, nobody knows you. You just sit and play and enjoy the nature. It's really beautiful.
which city was
And
that?
I think that is also the Cimerano. So actually, that's the city where my husband came from. So we come back almost every year for a holiday, just 1 month holiday in summer.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I did that too. I was playing on the street, and then I wasn't trying to get tips, but somehow people gave me money, so I thought, okay, that's nice too.
That's fine.
Yeah. Now, um, uh, the I love the tabla, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I was taught by one of my music professors that the tabla is traditionally a male instrument, and it's very rare for females to be performing on the instrument. And have you ever encountered these traditional roles, but you're sort of bringing the new idea, women playing music? Is this kind of challenge? Have you ever encountered that?
Yeah, especially tabla come from India, right? So came from India. So most of the musicians that I met in India was male anyway. So I would say tabla or sitar are mostly male instruments. And in Vietnam was the same, in the past women are staying at home, making children, cooking, take care of the house, and you know how it is Asian culture. So I understand, I respect the culture, but I believe the culture is like a living thing too. It has to change with the time. what in the past of 100 years ago, it's the way it is because of the situation and life at the time. We understand it, but now we are in this 21st century where in the world, a woman can be a president, can be the big boss in the company. So why not a woman being a great musician and go on stage and perform? And in fact, nowadays there are more and more female musicians. It's like normal thing. Or for guitarists, for example, still the number of female guitarists are less than the male guitarists, but they are improving, and I'm very happy with that fact. And I'm also happy that actually among my students there are more female than men. And I always really encourage them a lot, tell them how brave they are, how great they are, to encourage them and to prove with them and with their parents that don't think that your girls have to study piano or violin or just to learn cooking. She can play guitar too. And I'm happy that the world is changing and this world of classical guitar also changing or increasing the number of male guitarists, of female guitarists.
Do you have any ideas or thoughts about why there seem to be more or fewer female guitarists?
I don't know for the world's reason, but for Vietnam, let me tell you the honest fact. So in Vietnam, in the past, if you play an instrument and if you're female, you should play piano or violin because it's not because of the difficulty or because it's look more feminine. So that's what they believe that a girl sitting on the piano, with the back straight like this is look for more feminine, more high class, or on the violin, also very elegant. On the guitar, you sit like this, and okay, mostly guitarists for the public mean like strumming and like chopping wood. People believe so. The posture doesn't look elegant. The guitar is more like a very very popular instrument that like in the army people would bring it and play in the army, or you can bring it to a picnic, or you can bring it to a camp. So it's something very popular. It's too popular that they don't want to see daughters in this image. They want their daughters to be high class and elegant and feminine. So I guess that is the main and the biggest reason.
That's a good point because when we say guitar, we're thinking classical, but to the rest of the world, they're thinking beers and songs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. That makes a lot of sense. I won't mention which teacher, but a very famous. I played Bach for a very famous teacher in a masterclass one time, and he was very, very gracious. He was very nice, and he's a wonderful, wonderful man, wonderful guitarist. But at that time, I was playing in the flamenco position. I played Bach, and he didn't like it, and he said, "This is for the bars. You don't do this with Bach." But he was very gracious in that he didn't keep talking about it. He says, "Okay, I said that my piece, and then let's move on." And um, I thought for the first time, I thought one side of me said, I want to play like this because I feel comfortable playing in the flamenco position. The other side thought, oh yeah, I am playing for people. I have to respect my audience. And the fact that he didn't go on and on about it was the thing that made me think about it twice. So
Yeah, but eventually you play whatever position you're comfortable. Like Ricardo Gallen,
yes,
he sit like a flamenco player. And it's amazing. I mean, I would like to sit like, actually, I used to sit like this for almost my whole study life. And only in the past, maybe 15, 16 years that I changed. But it's difficult to sit like this and play complicated pieces, right?
yeah, yeah. You mean in the
Otherwise,
flamenco position, right?
otherwise look cool, like Ricardo, he just sit like that and play whole back suite,
Yeah, Ricardo's videos are so beautiful. His performance is so great. And when one of my friends told me, I think it was Isaac Bustos that first told me that Ricardo Gallen sits like that. That's when I looked him up and I thought, oh wow, okay. So I felt glad that I wasn't like, because people were criticizing me, right? And I was always afraid that, oh, if you go to a concert, people don't care, but if you play at a competition or you're playing in the conservatory, people will talk. So there's like two different worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Yeah. When it come to a competition, it's different thing. There are rules to follow. And when you come to the States, there are rules to break.
That's right. I think in the US, it's a little bit easier to break rules. I think in Asia, people still have an expectation. Is that, what about the Middle East, or what about Bahrain or India?
You mean about the classical guitar scene here?
Yeah, in terms of breaking this concept of a guitar should look a certain way, a posture, your posture should be a certain way, you should play a certain way, or do they not have any of these rules because there's no
Because
preconception
there's
of?
no such thing as classical guitar.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
there's yeah,
In
there's no.
India, as I said, in India, actually, I was teaching in academy. So I teach like also classical music. For 5 years, I lived there. But since I came to Saudi and here in Bahrain, they don't have so much classical. Actually, I haven't met any other classical guitarists here. And if there is, they would come from other country. They would come here to teach or to work. So there is no such thing as a classical guitar concert here in Bahrain. What I perform sometimes is through like embassies or diplomatic events that they need some classical musicians. So I would come and play, but not like a classical guitar club thing that happen regularly. No, there are some flamenco guitarists, yes,
Hmm. Okay.
but there's no such thing as classical guitarist here.
So I know last time we spoke, we were talking also a little bit about fitness, and I want to ask you about that because um, I tell maybe share with us how your practice schedule was when you were if you're starting at 4, right? All these years of practicing and all these hours of practicing, we have to have back problems or arm problems or shoulder problems, right? And all these kinds of problems. So uh, let's talk a little bit about
That,
fitness.
I know that's what I realize, and I keep telling my friends or my students all the time because I've had friends, and in our circle, there are people who practice 8, 10 hours a day, and of course, it's important, and we are proud about it. But then eventually, you have one body, right? And whatever you do, you need a healthy body to maintain everything else. And if you sit few hours a day and then few hours a day more for teaching, it's always just sitting, and it's really bad, and it's bad for our body. It's bad for our spirit also. So I always very much against this. I try my best every day, if possible, to exercise in any form. Not the last few days. I just came back from holiday and I gained a few kilos. But in general, I normally wake up very early. I practice in the morning, and half time or half morning I would stop or go bicycling when it's not too hot, or go to the gym, or go swimming, or I would do it in the afternoon after teaching. I'm not a heavy, how to say, uh, gym workout person or training, but I believe in how to call it, like doing it regularly.
Yeah, maintaining.
Yes, maintaining it, not to try to do heavy lift. I'm not a guy. I don't want to build my body like a bodybuilder. I don't want to get skinny like a model, but I want to first feel good. And the day that I wake up, I practice a bit, I go to exercise, I come back, I feel like I want to work, I want to live. But if you don't have it, you just feel tired the whole day and just sit there and teaching, and you sit and practice, but actually you don't practice much. It's finger moving, but your mind is not working. So I actually suggest a lot of friends and students, or even people who are not musicians, people who just work in the office, who don't have a chance to walk around, stand up, walk around sometimes. You should do it because it's fun. And especially if you live in a country with nice weather, you can jog outdoor, you can go hiking or bicycling. It's great. It's part of living, and it's part of music too. It's to bring all different dimensions of your life into your music.
Yeah, this was my, looking back on my conservatory experience. Um, I wish they put more emphasis on the physical training aspect. And one of the conservatories that I went to didn't have a gym when I was going there. I think they have a partnership with the university nearby now that the students can use the gym. Of course, with COVID, all the gyms are shut down in the U.S., but kind of more or less. But I wish they stressed this a little bit more because what I learned many years later was that it's not a question of if you're going to get injured, but it's when you're going to get injured. And then whether it's what yoga or running to maintain or swimming or breathing exercises or just going to the the playground and the monkey bars and doing some calisthenics or plyometrics. I mean, this has been tremendously helpful for me. And then like today, before our conversation, I made sure to go out for a bike ride and to push myself, get a sweat going, and then I just feel more relaxed when I come in.
Yes, it's nice. Yeah, I wish all musicians would be like you or like us, because normally people look at musician. I'm not talking about classical musician or rock musician. Or they look at musician like people who don't have a proper lifestyle. Stay up late at night, sleep the whole morning, get drunk and smoke, and so I don't like this image of how people look at musicians or look at artists in general. I'm very much, I wake up early. I don't sleep early, but I still wake up early. I take a nap after lunch, like Spanish people. And I exercise every day. I eat healthy. I don't get drunk. I don't drink. So, it's not the job that you do, it's how you want to do your job.
Now, is your husband and are your kids able to sort of follow you with your eating healthy and exercise, or do they get a bunch of junk food?
Now, actually, they are supporting me a lot. And also, I actually follow them a lot because my husband is a chef. He works in a hotel as a chef. So, automatically, he very much again like unhealthy food. And also, my two girls, they are both teenager now, and they are very much taking care of how they look. You know, even though they don't care about dressing up or look like any other girls, but they care about keeping in shape and fit. And so actually one of my girls is like a gymnast, she does gymnastic. And the bigger girl, she's not so flexible, but she also very fit and doing exercise regularly. So very often afternoon, three of us go out jogging and exercising or swimming. We do everything together.
Wow.
And that's the best part because I feel so lucky that I have my children to do actually everything with me. I don't have to force them. I don't have to explain them that it's good for you. It just automatically. We play guitar together and we go gymming together. We go bicycling together. When we get some nice food or cook a nice meal, with salad and all, we will say, wow, so yummy. And thinking, come on. Yes, we know that it's healthy, but to be honest, sometimes I still enjoy a non-healthy meal. But yeah, we build it as our family lifestyle.
But yeah, occasionally that's fine. What is a good meal for you guys?
As of course, because I'm Asian, so for me, Asian food is still my most favorite food. I love rice, but rice, I know that now, I get to this age, it's not the most healthy food, it's heavy carb. So we change to eat like black rice or brown rice. And instead of before, we used to love to eat pork. But now we almost don't eat pork anymore. Also, being living here in the Middle East, a country, it's Muslim. There are pork to buy, but firstly, they are very expensive, and secondly, they are fat, and we want to reduce it. So we eat more seafood, chicken, lean chicken. Once in a while, we eat beef, and a lot of vegetarian meal. So mostly still Asian food, but more into a healthy side. And of course, Italian food is a must in our menu too. Because my husband is from Italy, so we love to enjoy a great salad or pasta once in a while. Yes.
Do your kids
Not too much
cook?
sweet. Oh yes, yes. They both love cooking. The big
Really?
girl, she's 15 and she can cook very well. In fact, tonight she cooked dinner because I told her, I was teaching until late tonight, and I said I will not have too much time to cook because I finished work late and I have an interview. So can you just prepare something? Yeah, no, she made something. Yeah, it's
What did
nice.
she make?
She made tonight, I don't know if you know paranta, it's like kind of Indian bread, but we don't put any butter or oil, and chicken with like, again, Arabic style with some herb and some salad, zucchini.
Delicious.
Yeah, Yes, very nice. Yeah, after all those years, like trouble putting them to sleep and feeding them, and now finally I can just say, okay, you cook dinner. I'm busy, and it feels good.
Yeah, it only took 15 years, right?
Yes, long one.
Yeah. And now I know last time we were talking, you said something that you discovered you like to cook finally, right?
Oh yes, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Now, I want to say, I'm asking these questions about fitness and cooking also because I have shared interests as well. I've always liked to cook ever since I was in maybe high school. My mom took one egg and she showed me three different ways to cook it with one egg. So she showed me just a scrambled egg. She showed me, and then the next third of the egg, she showed me some kind of an omelet, and then the last third of egg, she taught me how to do that egg drop soup, kind of that texture, in Chinese food.
Oh yeah,
And I
yeah.
thought, and at first it blew my mind. It's like, well, how can you teach me three different egg dishes with one egg? And then, but I learned a lot just from that. And then ever since college, I would call mom and call back home from the US and say, Mom, how do you do this blah, blah, blah dish or whatever? And then that's when I started cooking because I didn't like the food in America at the time. And ever since college, I've been teaching. And I think I cook just about every day. So, um, the fitness thing, right? About 10 years ago, I started exercising a lot more, and now I exercise just about every day. So it's like I'm asking you all these questions because of the shared interests.
Yeah, I think I mean, in your case, I know, like my friend in Vietnam, I'm talking about Asian style and culture, and the Vietnamese men, they don't cook much. They don't cook much because, again, for us, the woman cooking and the man, before you get married, you have a mother cook for you, and after you get married, you have a wife cook for you, right? So in your case, I guess because you travel a lot and you live alone and mother is not there anymore and you want to eat healthy. So, you have to develop this skill. And in my case, actually, it's similar, because even though being a girl, but I studied guitar at a very early age and actually even started the conservatory very, very early when I was 7 years old. So that come with a few exams a year. And my parent was very afraid that if I burn my hand, if I cut my fingers, so I was actually never had to cook because of this fact, to keep my hand, keep my nail for playing guitar. So a year passed by, I was 20 something years old and I didn't, I can cook some very simple dish, but after 2 minutes I have to repeat again the same dish. And then somehow I ended up married to a chef, which whatever I cook or I try, it doesn't mean much to him, right? And we were lucky to stay, actually to live in hotels for many years of our first few years of marriage. So that means you eat hotel food and you don't have to cook. And there were times that we didn't even have kitchen in the hotel room to cook. But then since we moved here to Bahrain, the girls are already big and they start to into also healthy eating, and my husband is very busy with his work and we don't want to get like let's say a helper, a nanny who happy with cooking like everybody does here, because I don't think it's the right way. Everybody should work and should cook your own food. So since then I started to learn, I mean, to build up my repertoire in food. I learned more Vietnamese food, I learned more Indian food, Thai food, and some European food also. And I think the biggest motivation for cook, for a chef, is when you see people enjoy your food. For years before, or I live with my parents, they cook for me. I live alone, I have nobody to cook for. I just want to eat simple. Or with my husband, who can just bring any food from the hotel. But now I realize that I have to cook, and my children really enjoy it, and it's really give me the big motivation to. There are some night, before going to sleep, you already think, oh, what should I cook tomorrow? And it's become like a excitement.
My son loves to make pasta. He loves to get his hands dirty, whether it's like I said, making pasta or kneading dough for the pizza. anything with his fingers he loves to do. And
How old is he?
he's 9, and I taught him how to use a knife when he was 4, I think. And of course, mom put the photos and the videos on Facebook. Everybody, all the moms are freaking out, like, how can such a 4-year-old use a knife and all that kind of stuff. But I thought, why not? And
They
today,
have to learn somewhere, right? They have to start somewhere.
yeah. And the knife thing, I for some reason I've always liked knives. So my mom was always like, "Hey, be careful of your fingers and all that." But of course I've cut myself a couple times, but nothing ever so crazy. If anything, I'm more afraid of my bike riding, that I'm gonna. I fell the other week, a few weeks ago, and when I picked myself up, the first thing I looked at was my right hand to make sure the nails didn't crack. It's so stupid, but that's what happened. And bike, and then the other front thing is I play badminton, so every now and then I think I cannot injure my ankle and my knee. I want to be able to walk. And then the few times I've injured my wrist or my shoulder, I always think, at least it's not my knee, at least it's not my ankle, at least I can still walk and hike, So I think, I mean, there are these risks, but I think it's important to expose these kids to these risks, right?
Yeah, but in a way, if you want to avoid, then you end up doing nothing or don't allow your children to do anything.
Yeah.
So actually, this is how my children start cooking in the same reason. Actually, the first year when we lived here in Bahrain, I had some lady to come to help me to cook for them while I'm traveling, because like every month I would travel a few days or one week. Then she will come and cook. But then I was thinking, if every time somebody cook for them, how will they learn? Of course, my husband is afraid that they're going to burn themselves or cut themselves. And then one day I just said, okay, this trip, I remember that was last year, so almost 2 years ago, when I went to LA for just 10 days. I say, okay, this time I will not call the nanny. You stay at home, they sing on the fridge here, just make up something. I'm sure it's okay. And then I came back and they started to cook some simple dish, and I mean, nobody get injured, no problem. And if unfortunately, if something accident happen, you can't avoid. You can't avoid. And if you just try to avoid by not doing it, then it's not the right way. It's like you're afraid of giving a bad performance, and you avoid it by not going on the stage. Right?
Yeah.
So everything it comes with the risk, and it's the beauty of doing it.
That's a beautiful analogy. Yeah. Now, when you're exercising or when you're cooking, was there ever a moment when you felt that something in the exercise or the cooking connected with something with music, and it lit something, it caused a spark or
In the
inspiration?
exercise, I'm sure, because it's physically affects. No, I don't know. Some people talk about, if you exercise too much or lift weight, it's gonna affect your arm or injury. Of course, if you're doing it the wrong way, it's harmful anyway. Not only for playing guitar.
Yeah.
As long as you do it right way, and of course, knowing your limits. As I said, I don't want to be a bodybuilder or to be skinny like a model. So if you do it in the right way, I think it's had the blood circulation. It had my back, that even if I sit 2-3 hours to play guitar, I don't have a back problem. I actually, as my experience, I never get feel pain or tired of sitting to practice. I get bored, yes, because I can't sit like 3 hours through. Every now and then I have to stand up, so I get bored, but I don't get tired. That's why sometimes, if I have friends come over to go to some party, we jam and all, I could sit like 6-7 hours in a row playing and jamming. So I don't get tired, and thankfully I can say that maybe it's the gym and the exercise really help, because it's physical. Because playing guitar, music is physical too, and cooking, good food, good life.
I think that's the perfect way to say it.
Yes.
No, I want to ask you something about traveling one more time, because last time you mentioned something about the visa problems, and this is something that maybe I would say maybe Americans don't think about ever, because we don't have visa problems.
Yes, I hope they will understand what other people have to go through. So even without this COVID thing, it's already a very big trouble for us to get. If the visit visa is easy, tourist visa. I came the last 2, 3 times to US with the tourist visa. It's no problem. But the problem is if I want to perform officially, I need to get this artist visa, O1 visa. So since end of last year, I started to apply and go through Daniel management. They helped me to show me what to do, what to prepare, and it took me actually 1, 2 months to get things together to finally send to them and to finally get approved in February. So I supposed to get the visa by beginning of March, and I supposed to prepare this for my concert in May in LA, and then this November in South Bay Society. But then as soon as I get that the visa got approved, I called the embassies to come to get the visa, to get them issue the visa. Then it's exactly few days before the embassy closed, and they said that they will not issue any visa. So when I came there, I called them to come there just to supposed to get my visa, and they close and they say that they will stop issuing visa. That means I cannot get the visa, and until now, still there are no news about if they are opening it again. So that's why for this concert in November, actually David was asking me that if I can come and what is the chance and all. So beside all of this risks about traveling I don't have my visa yet. Hopefully I can get some news soon.
Is it easier or to travel to Europe compared to the US?
Yes, because I have a European passport, so it's okay for me to go to Europe. But go to US to give like an official performance, I would need this visa. I would be now in this time, it's on hold for 8 months.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all hope that this situation will improve and COVID will be, vaccines and all this. So, because for me, anyways, like learning about someone like you who likes to hike and exercise, I say to all of the artists who come here who have this interest, I'll take you out to hiking and I'll take you out to ride bikes or something like that, because there's some nice places in the South Bay that people usually think of South Bay as what, Apple or Facebook or Google, right? But they don't realize that there's some really incredible places to enjoy nature out here.
Yeah, that's nice. When I travel, I like to always stay, like extend if I don't have urgent thing to do next. I like to stay back 1, 2 more days to explore the place, or see the nature or even visit places.
Have you been to San Jose before?
To South Bay, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I've never been. I've been actually only 3 times to the US. So the last time was LA, and before was Denver, and then Louisville. Yeah, that was the 3 times.
Oh, Louisville was for the GFA, right?
Yes, I had a concert there. It was nice. It was nice. Great experience to perform in GFA.
Yeah. That must be a highlight in your career. That's great.
Yes, I guess so.
So let's see. So I think we'll wrap this up. Can you tell people where to find you online?
I am on YouTube under Thule as my name. I have a Facebook page, Thule Guitarist, and also my Instagram account is Thule Guitarist. My website is Thule Guitarist. So you can find me everywhere if you want to support me.
Excellent. Yeah. So let's hope this thing clears up soon, and then the South Bay Guitar Society can bring you in. We'll go hiking. We'll eat some good food.
I hope so. I can't wait. For me, the excitement of every time traveling for concert is not just to play the concert and leaving the next day. I want to. The beauty of it is to interact with people and to see the places. I'm really looking forward to that.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, Tu, thank you so much for talking with me.
It was great talking to you too, Steve, and see you soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.